We're live.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Council Rock School District Facilities Committee. My name is Mike Thorwart. I'm the chair. Let's go around the room and introduce everybody, and then we'll get started.
Doug Taylor, Director of Operations.
Ed Salomon, School Board. Robert Berger, Superintendent.
Mary McKee, School Board.
Ed Tate, School Board.
Hayden Tarantino, Boy Scout.
Vincent Tarantino, father of Boy Scout.
Matt Frederickson, IT Director.
Denise Brooks, School Board.
Carl Fetzer.
All right. With that, Mr. Taylor, take it away.
Thank you, Mike. So the agenda looks busy, but most of these items are pretty quick, so I don't expect it to be a lengthy meeting tonight. We are going to talk about energy management, a security update, facility improvement update, capital improvement update, facility master planning, miscellaneous items, board agenda items, and then any kind of public comments at the end. So with that, I'll move into energy management, which is not overly involved. Last month, we didn't have a report because the reporting was temporarily suspended with the partial governmental shutdown. We now have the NOAA weather reports back up and running, so they're able to put in the weather adjusted information and get back into reporting. So I have a couple of reports to show from October and November. We're always a little behind because our utility bills come. They have to get those bills, sift through the bills, and put in the relevant information. So we're still slightly behind, but not too much. We also have new Energy Star data verification checklist sheets. We have to fill these out because with the new number of students that will be in each of the schools as we move into the next year and redistricting, some of the additions and renovation projects have changed the number of students in buildings. It changes how those buildings are actually measured and verified as part of the system. So we have to update those forms, the square footages, the number of occupants, the HVAC system types, impervious surface, parking lot size. There's all sorts of things that affect us, so we have to address that, and I'm working on that now. So I'm not going to get much into the Energy Star score. We know that we were once very high in the Energy Star score, but they adjusted their matrix and their percentages and other criteria for Energy Star. So all of the scores came down nationwide based on this. Because it's too easy for everyone to now be Energy Star rated based upon everybody's efforts. So they want to make it more difficult. They're working on adjusting some of the numbers that they used when they made their adjustments to maybe bring them back up a bit so everyone doesn't drop as far as they have and make it more achievable to reach Energy Star. So the number to look at though here, we're still at 95 cents a square foot for electric in the district, which that hasn't changed. While the score has, the energy usage hasn't. And then moving into November, we're 94 cents. So I expect that to keep moving in that direction a couple more cents. But we're still well under $1 per square foot for electric district-wide, which is a good number, especially security update. We've talked a lot about the different Act 44 elements of security. The next big meeting relative to security is March 19th at Newtown Middle School at 7 p.m. and we're going to have a security forum for the community. We're going to talk about what we do in the district. We're going to have PA Matthew Weintraub there. Of course, Rob will be there to kick it off. Board representation and an ALICE National Certified Trainer who will speak to the parents and the community about what the ALICE training is and before we implement any kind of ALICE lessons throughout the district to students, we're going to make sure we present the community and again notify parents before we would have any of those discussions in the schools. So we're working on that and we're excited about that. We're preparing a little bit for that tonight before this week. Grants are still in progress. We're looking for response to one more outstanding grant. That's the mental health initiatives. The state kind of put that on hold and they're evaluating and reducing some of the monies that were able to be shared amongst the potential recipients. So we're hoping that we're still considered, but it's a long shot I think, for us to get some of these monies. We're going to go after it regardless. And then the only other thing on security update is part of the Act 44 bill that was passed by Governor Wolf back in June is the state police assessment team that has to be together by the end of this month. So they had a lot of aggressive timelines. This is basically teams composed of 3 troopers. They're going to go through districts throughout the state and evaluate the facilities based upon what they learned through the state in terms of what to look for at each facility. So that's something that is in the works, and we're still waiting to hear back from the state on how that's going to look later. Facility improvement update. First, Rolling Hills. As you know, we approved the project at the last board meeting. Work in progress at this point is we're processing the professional service agreements that were approved by the board. There's a lot of agreements that had to go back and forth. All of the contracts with each of the 5 prime contractors and some professionals. We're working on collecting bonds and insurance. Those will be finally reviewed by our solicitor to make sure they meet the ratings that we are required by to provide by the spec. The project schedule and submittals are in the works. We have to get a very detailed project schedule with all of the interim milestones the contractors have to meet along the way so we can track the process and progress of that project. A list of subcontractors that they will include on the project, the schedule and values for each one of their contract amounts broken down into about 300 separate line items. So when they bill each month, we can actually pay only for the pieces of work that they performed. Permitting is in the works, and a pre-construction meeting with the contractors and the township is scheduled for next week, 13th of March. So we're going to have a kickoff meeting here to get everything started with the contractors in one room to talk about the expectations and the process. And one other thing we're doing on this project is we're value engineering the mechanical bid. When we saw these numbers, the one bid that was slightly elevated, a little more than slightly, we were concerned with the mechanical square foot cost when we looked at it across the board. So we're looking at the drawings, we're looking at why, we're asking some questions, and if we can get some value engineering without affecting the project, without affecting the systems, sustainability, and all those things, we're going to see if we can get a credit change order back to see if we can recover some of the monies for the HVAC piece of the bids. Stay tuned. It's likely I come back to you guys with a credit change order to the HVAC contract without affecting the project. So I will let you know as we go. So we had a community meeting back in February for Rolling Hills. I don't know that I had a chance to talk about that here, but it was a very good meeting. I think there were 60 to 70 people there. It was positively received. We talked about the pros of moving the kids to Richboro Middle School versus working around them in a renovated building. Showed them the floor plans of the proposed project and the Richboro Middle School as a temporary Rolling Hills Elementary School, and how that will look as an elementary school and how it's being used right now for Whitestown. And we had Andy Rowe from Transportation there, and he talked a bit about how the busing will work for the students in that school. As you know, there's maybe 200 walkers at that school, so a lot of these kids aren't accustomed to taking the bus to school. Now, they've been on buses for field trips and other things, so it's not new to be on the bus, but it's new to be on the bus in the morning driving to school. So,
bus stops.
and bus,
Neighborhoods that never had bus
Right.
stops before.
so it's a good point. So we're working on all of that. Andy is working on that. And we'll continue to address any concerns the community has as that process moves along.
Doug, would you happen to know how many classrooms are currently being used for Whitestown? How many classrooms would be anticipated for Rolling Hills when you go there?
Yeah, Whitestown's using something like 16 or 17, I think, and we're going to need 18, bless you, we're going to need 18, I believe, for.
Whitestown really stretched it out. They made the space because they knew the following year they needed more room
Right.
for Rolling Hills. So it's a pretty luxurious layout for Whitestown right now.
But very similar numbers to transition everyone.
It is, and what Denise said is very true. We prepared the building for Rolling Hills when we prepared it for Ricetown, so that we would be ready for the second project.
Thank you.
And they're educators, they expanded it to like.
Yeah, they should, you know, if they're the instance.
So I will tell you though, that the building feels very good, very comfortable. It feels like it's like an elementary school. And it actually is size as an elementary school. For middle school, it was small. It's only 80,000 square feet. So it feels very much like an elementary school. It's great, it's comfortable. That did a great job getting it. And then we're going to break ground in May at Rolling Hills. We don't usually have a big groundbreaking ceremony for the projects. I don't know, talk to Sam, see if he wants to do anything little with this group or kind of something small, but that's the timing of the actual groundbreaking. Yeah, this is
So it might be worth,
site related only.
you know what I mean?
Did Ricetown do it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No. So the milestones for Rolling Hills, again, groundbreaking in May. Once we vacate the building in June, pending the snow stops, we'll vacate in June. And after the 4th of July, the contractors will hit the ground running. We'll be in the building and working hard to tear it apart and start to put it back together. The final completion is July of 20. And then we'll furnish the building in July of 20 and put the kids and teachers back in. So it's moving. We're going to move quickly. Ricetown is moving. With a lot of progress on construction. We're definitely on pace for the 30 June completion of that project. A lot of the above ceiling rough-in is complete, which is key. Things behind walls, the wiring, low voltage wiring system for all of the systems like the life safety, for fire alarm, security, for cameras, for intercom phones, the dashboard system to look at the way the building functions. The HVAC hydronic piping is in, domestic water piping is in, building management systems are going in, Johnson Controls that tie in the mechanical systems. Electrical systems are in, where there aren't ceilings, you'll see little circle, pigtails of wire waiting for lights to go in the ceiling. HVAC systems are coming along, boilers are in place. I'll show you a couple quick pictures. Finishes are actually going in as well. When I talk about things happening above the ceiling, it's easy to get lost in paint and casework and the things that you're excited to see. But if you don't see this stuff happening, you're in trouble. So, we have the hot, cold water in, insulated, labeled, ready to go. The hydronic piping for hot and cold water, chilled water, insulated piping, ductwork is in. The black pipe is the sprinkler piping. These are all what we call pigtails waiting for ceilings to go in so they can tie in the final devices that go into the laid-in ceiling. So we're in very good shape in that regard. These are the boilers in the mechanical room. They don't look anything like old boilers. They're not real scary looking. They're high efficient gas-fired boilers. This is one of the toilet rooms. You can see the tile in. This is the line of the ceiling that will go in place. These are the lights along the edge. So really just waiting to lay a ceiling system in. Toilet fixtures go in quick, and then the partitions. That space is ready. The floor's in. We're in good shape.
Floors under the fire.
Floor's being protected, like it should be. Yep. This is one of the corridors, the newer hallways, the block walls. It's only one coat of paint on the walls. They just get a base coat down. They will, when they're finished moving through, put a final coat on. That's why they don't look like they're fully covered. You can see some of the drywall sections are in. The lights ready to plug in place. This is a terrazzo floor going in. So that nice terrazzo floor that you see in the schools, it's ground, stone, it's an epoxy and stone mix. This is how it looks in its rough form. Then they come in and grind the floor down with a grinder and give you that nice polished stone look.
So they'll keep it rough on it, because
yeah, because you can't really damage it at this point.
Right.
Yeah, so they'll wait and they protect the walls so that when you pour it, it doesn't splash up on the wall. You can see that the grid is in, the different colored systems are in place, and it'll all come along nicely with stuff. This is one of the classrooms. You can see the window systems are in, some of the casework along the edge. This is the mechanical unit. These are the diffusers for that mechanical unit. So you used to see a unit ventilator along the window system and the loud noise coming out of the fan, kids sitting next to it having a hard time hearing class. The nice thing about the vertical unit ventilator is the air doesn't come out of one single small location. It's a duct above the ceiling, and it comes out of about 5 locations, so that it's not being forced out of one small space. It's much more quiet. It's also air conditioning and heat. It's a 4-pipe system, so theoretically you could air condition one side and heat the other at the same time if you ever had to do so. But that is also humidity control too. And then another part of the classroom, you can see these are the cubbies for the kids. We talked about the value-added casework when we opened bids on this project, storage for teachers. These cabinets along the top and the little cubbies along the bottom were a number that we took an alternate price for and said, hey, if we can afford this, let's put those in. So every room has that additional storage in it, and we got that for a very good number when we did the job. So the teachers were very happy. I went through a tour with Beth, and we took back-to-back tours in outreach, and took her whole team through the building. We were very happy with what they saw. This is a wire mold coming down the wall, and that has all the data and power in it for the teachers to use at the teaching wall. The sink in every room, and you can see the ceilings, the lights are laid in, the sprinkler heads are in. We're in very good shape. That's just a shot of the unit ventilator again and one of the display boards. And wrapping it up, we have, this was the end of the existing wing that didn't complete the square kind of circulation, so we extended it, it shoots across the back, and that's the gym beyond. And a nice community entrance for the gym, and also an entry for students being dropped off by parents in the morning, so we have a couple places to bring kids in the morning.
How was the brickwork coming?
That's good, that's all new brick, and
I don't know where you took these pictures.
they'll tent the brick, they'll actually put the scaffolding up, they'll put plastic over it, heat inside the plastic and work on the bricks and tent it and keep working so that the weather doesn't stop it. And the last shot is the gym. So this is the new gym. You do get a window system up in this area. It will be delivered later. But you can see we have the walls primed. This is all the matrix for the terrazzo floors. That's the actual gravel in the bags. It's a good staging area right now. This floor will be the last floor of the gym. Newtown Middle School, again, not a whole lot to talk about. The demolition is complete. If you've driven by it, it's wonderful to see the building set back off the road the way it is. The site's about 99% restored. There's a final piece of paving that has to be overlaid. They held off on that while they demolished, and they took the big trucks, in and out while they were demolishing the building. So we'll overlay that at spring break.
The site looks terrific. The setback for the school just really enhances the look.
It does look much better.
It's really amazing how fast that was.
Yeah.
It's going to be recycled.
It could have come down much quicker, but we recycled, on that site, we recycled almost 97% of everything we demolished during that project or debris from new construction was recycled. Only 3% went to landfill. So that's a significant accomplishment. And we'll work on the final counting of contracts once the site work is complete. And the escrow has been reduced by the township already to a pretty nice number from Newtown Township, even though we're not 100%. So they've been very cooperative. Holland Middle School, again, we're completing final punch list items. We're probably this spring break wrap up the majority of anything else that's still hanging out there. Continue to work on commissioning the HVAC system. The walking path from Holland Middle School to Buck Road has an area next to a rain garden that is flooding out when we get heavy rain. So we're working on looking at what we can do to make that better. We'll wait till the weather turns. When it does, we will absolutely come up with a solution.
I agree with you on this, because we've got walkers turning through there.
Yeah, I mean, it's important because it keeps the kids obviously away from Buck Road, which we had.
And this wasn't supposed to happen, so we'll figure it out.
It wasn't supposed to happen. There's a rain garden that was part of the best management practice as far as what we have to do on our conservation district. Now we have to figure out how to address the unintended consequences of the rain garden. And we have to work on the final close out the escrow for that project. We're close. A little bit of work. Capital improvements project update. So we awarded those contracts at the last meeting as well, all of the summer projects, all but two that I want to talk about tonight. So we're working on the same things with this group as we are on Rolling Hills Elementary School, and our meetings for each of these projects are scheduled for the 29th of March. So we'll meet with each contractor, probably all-day meetings. We have to meet with many different contractors for those projects. And I want to talk about two other projects, North Natatorium Seating and Chancellor Center Security Improvements. There's two other kind of add-ons as we go. So the North Natatorium Seating improvements came up back in 16. I presented that as part of some other capital improvement projects. And at that time, it was decided we wouldn't move that project forward. It was brought forward because there were concerns with the safety of the existing conditions. And I will say, we are grandfathered, based on the codes that the building was designed by. But knowing what we know and our concerns for safety, I think puts liability on us because we're aware of it. So some of the items that are concerning are the stair treads and risers not conforming, very uncomfortable to navigate. And I will tell you, I'm fairly healthy. I run Spartan races at stadiums. I love to run, and these steps are very uncomfortable. I'll run, the sandbags at stadiums. I wouldn't like these steps. It's not great. Handrails are absent at these stairwells as well. Stairways as well, because you can't just add a handrail to the existing width of the stair, because it would create an aisle that would be too narrow to move up and down either side. I couldn't put it on the end because then you block the end of the seat. So I'll show you those things. The entry level aisle is has ups and downs. Because the front row is designed to have a bench, as you walk up, you step down so that the bench is the appropriate height. And as you get to a set of steps, it comes back up again so you can go up. People have tripped over those landings at the bottom of the area. And the guardrails are open and provide a little fall protection. So this is a picture of what it looks like now. These are the steps, the 4 sets of steps. There's one forward that are pretty uncomfortable to navigate. The code has a maximum riser height. These exceed the riser height that we're accustomed to. And over the years, those riser heights change based upon, where we are as humans and what our height and average height and the way we function. I've seen these change several times, but it's generally been 7.5 inches maximum for a riser. When you start to see anything greater than that, because you're so used to that height on every set of steps you use, anything greater starts to feel a little uncomfortable. They're probably almost 9 inches, and the tread should be 11 clear, from nosing to nosing, and these are much less than that. So they're little steps, they're high rises, and then you have this kind of awkward width as well. So if you come down, you get a bigger one, too small, a bigger one, and there's nothing to hold on to. So anyone who is uncomfortable climbing steps has no one to hold on to except the person you're with or somebody else you're going to take down with you. So these are the steps. At the front aisle, you come up a set of steps, and as you come to the top of the steps, if there's a crowd, the crowd in front of you moves and steps down. But if you're not ready and you don't see the crowd step down, you think you're moving straight ahead, and then you find yourself dropping 8 inches suddenly. So that's actually been one of the areas where I know Brian Johnson has been involved in people falling. Fortunately, no one's gotten seriously hurt, and no one's gotten this for that. But there's railings that are open that, the fall is down to the bottom of the steps. It's not just a couple feet. 8, 9, not good situations. So I looked at this with Schrader 3 years ago, and we came up with some solutions. These are the existing steps. We would have to widen the steps, much like we did at the stadium at North, Austin Stadium. Widen the steps. That allows you to put a railing in the middle and have the appropriate width on either side of that. You lose some seating by doing that. We would fill in the front and flush that out, and we basically take the benches that were here and move them to the top. So we replace the lost seating at the top. So we're not going to lose any seating capacity by doing so. We have to replace some railings, and when we're done, we probably put a new finish on the entire thing, cutting, patching them all up. And
It's also heavily moist, ornate environment. You almost need to refresh on it.
really, I mean,
If you're gonna cut and patch from.
if we're touching these, it's the right time to just go through and do it, as a project. We're probably not going to go back and do anything this again. At least in our existence here. So right now, we have 969,000 roughly being reallocated to next year for some of these projects. We've had very favorable numbers this year, about 300,000 of the hardware is coming out of the maintenance budget, so it kept this larger than we would have anticipated. The estimated construction is about 240,000. I think it will be less, but that's what it was estimated at. We have fees and contingency for architect and design and unforeseen, so we're looking at about 300,000 with fees. That leaves us still 665,000, excludes the project that I want to propose for here as well. The schedule for this would really need to move as quickly as possible because we would need to hopefully award this by mid-May. If we start now, that's about where we land. The architect taking about a month and then bidding. That probably pushes us into an August, September construction timeline and completion. I talked to Brian Johnson. He said that would work with his aquatics programs over there and the way those bleachers are used. But after that, they become more heavily used. So we try to meet those timelines.
So what was the cost, 2016 for the project?
It would have been about 12% less than now. The proposed security improvements at Chancellor, as we look at security across the district and we rolled out the Alice training, we were training in this building, a lot of questions came up in this building, as they did in every other building. Hey, what can we do to enhance security and make it safer for all of us? And in this building, we probably haven't paid as much attention to it as we have in the schools for obvious reasons. We need to make sure our students are protected. And that's the right thing to do. Here, the concerns are a little different, but if anyone is upset, going to the tax office or wherever they may be traveling, there's really no ability to kind of corral anyone and keep them in an area until someone receives their guest and then moves them to the appropriate space. So what we looked at doing here to minimize the cost, recognizing that we don't want to overspend, at the bottom of the steps going down to transportation facilities, at the bottom over here, we put a key fob. So that if you were to travel, you can't do anything to the set of doors right out here because it's a required means of egress. There's a push bar. You have to be able to move through that opening house and get outside. So that door has to be unlocked. When we get to the bottom of the steps, there would be a fob. When you go to the top of the steps to the business office, that would be fobbed. So if you came in this side of the building and tried to go up or down, you couldn't get anywhere but to the bottom or top of the steps. When you come in the lobby, you could hop in the elevator and go anywhere you want right now. You put a fob at each side of the lobby elevator doors where you fob, and then you can push the button and go anywhere you want. Or the receptionist, on receiving someone, can fob them to go up or down, or you come down and receive your guest and you have a fob and you just move them through the elevator. And or if they're visibly upset and they want to see the tax office, you can walk them up the stairs so you're not putting yourself in an elevator.
What would we do there for wheelchair access?
on it?
Yeah.
You know, after, like, tonight, or?
Yeah, we can decide what, we would program this house to any time we want, so if we knew we had an issue, or, you know, I could take anyone through that.
Sure.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we stay compliant.
Not an issue at all. If we had an open event in the whole building and we wanted to say we're gonna turn that off for the day, we can do that. There's no reason to keep them. They're programmed based upon security. And the other area that really is sensitive is in the main lobby, there's that green swing gate that honestly really doesn't provide much security even after hours, because, you know, it's not really all that secure.
I can vouch for it.
I agree.
Back on old days, no.
I have tape of my contractor doing the same thing. So what we want to do is basically take a door similar to the admin area, which is already fobbed, and it doesn't look adhered. It's actually wider than needed for a door. So we put an aluminum, take this out, put an aluminum frame system in with a fob. Now when you come in the building, either set of doors, you can't go upstairs or downstairs from this end. From this end, you can't get into admin here, and you can't sneak around the corner and go up or down into admin, HR, or wherever you want to go, transportation, you know, any.
So we really expose reception.
So reception, there's two options. One is like any office, you know, people come into an office space and are greeted by receptions. I mean, most hotels, most business offices in the city, you walk into and see a person before. The only other option is you put an IP, you know, button in the camera. Now you're putting people in the cold before they get in.
I'm not asking you to do that, I'm just stating who you are.
We discussed that. Right. But the benefit to that is he or she is sitting here and the door is right here. So if they are actually concerned, as they see someone coming in and they're that worried about what they're observing, they got their fob, they can fob immediately next to them, get on the other side of the secure door and make a phone call. And the person would be confined to just this core area. Obviously, this flash room and the boardroom are open to the core area. There's not a whole lot you can do.
Sure.
Right. So we're really addressing the entire building with a couple key fobs and a door replacement, and not worrying about every set of doors. So we had this remaining after the proposed natatorium project in North. This estimated project is around $35,000. Fees and contingency, maybe 45. I think it could be less, but I don't want to underestimate it. It's still, when those two projects are done, takes us to about $620,000 reallocated to next year. We still have contingency and allowances from the summer projects. I think when we're done, I'm hoping to bring $200,000 from that back. I think we're still going to bring a good bit of money over to next year's projects. The only other project we did put on here, and Matt and I talked a little bit about, was the ability to communicate throughout the building via the phones. We don't have speakers everywhere in the building. So we may look at one more small project that could be $10,000 or something to that effect, to add some speakers throughout so that if you needed to communicate throughout the building, you could, which would be probably helpful anyway, even for an administrator who needs to call somebody and say, hey, come to the lobby or whatever it is. He or she could make an all-call to the office and do that.
Do you use the hotspots, the same tech you used at some of the other?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. We, what Mike's asking about, in the middle schools, we put in a speaker access point combination piece of equipment. Results have been mediocre with those, and I don't think we're going to do that in the future. Now, these would just be box speakers on the wall, or we have the V chases. When they architected this building, they put V chases everywhere for running wires, so we can put actually ceiling speakers in them very, very easily, and that's where the wire would run anyway. So putting them in the building is, in this building, difficult rooms are like this room. So.
So those are the two projects I'd like to move forward. I don't know if you want me to put those on a consent agenda for the next board meeting. The architect would have to just start documenting, receive bids, and you have to approve bids before we move forward.
Yeah, for the best courses. Yeah, if we have not for this.
If I have not, at least get them started on document.
Right, it allows you to fill out consent, allows you to pretty much work.
Let's take a small pause from your presentation and I'll open up for the board to talk about that.
Anybody want to go first with those two projects?
Yes. I don't vividly remember the conversation in 2016, but I know enough to recall that if we took it off the list, it was because we didn't have money. And so we had to, right, so we had to scale it like, the needs were greater than the money that we had. This is a unique situation. And, given that a community member has reached out to us, the pictures are very compelling. This is part of it.
Yeah, I recall prior discussion and feeling like it was unfortunate to postpone it because it seemed to me clearly, I've been in there, it's clearly sort of a hazardous situation.
So do I see two nods back?
Yes.
Good.
As a father, we did the aquatics, and I saw little people. The first thing I saw was thinking about Veterans Stadium and the Army Navy game when the railing collapsed. We lost some of our guys over the edge there. And as a father, with real little people, that's not a good situation. So when that came out last week, that concerned me. Also, my question, what happened in 2016? But yeah, if we can do it, let's get it done. The costs are only going to go up. It's a liability. It just makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
All right, please continue, Jonathan.
I think that's good.
I would
Yeah,
agree.
please.
Listen, we're missing 4 people if someone wants to vote.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This is just a schedule for chancellor. It's a little different, and most of those are 4 stars through access security, so I can move that a little bit different. And maybe be able to just get 3 quotes for the door because it's a lower number. I don't think it's going to go through the whole bid process. So I'll fill you in on that, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for this project. The 10-year plan, we're developing that plan. I know I'm going to be coming back in April with Bill Stone, and we're going to talk more about the 10-year master plan and how that looks and how it's shaping up. So I don't really want to go into this too much other than we continue to work with the commercial realtor on potential options for the LSAC building for the Sloan Achieve Twilight program.
I was just going to ask, and you just stated, you're actively working. That's the only report.
We are actively working multiple changes. As recent as today, emails were going back and forth.
Okay.
I actually took a look at the former Hillsborough Middle School, and I'm putting together 3 cost options to show you, so we can compare to, questions that could come up relative to realtor found locations. What if we did this here versus there? So everybody has the ability to compare. We own this, we buy this, how does that compare? So I'll put that together so we have a nice snapshot for you guys.
Again, I just wanted to make sure we're actively moving on.
Yeah, no, I think we're gonna end up in a really good place. It's not easy, a lot to consider in the laws and, funnel that down to a decision. But in addition to what Doug's talking about, Bill has set up, a draft schedule, draft of one, and sent all that off to PFM. So right now it's in PFM's hand. We expect that. Bill indicated to Doug and I by next Friday. So yeah, we should be in pretty good shape to inform for a decision.
A while back, I think shortly after I joined the board, I suggested that we ought to have perhaps a master plan for athletic facilities. And I think a 10-year plan for all capital facilities is sufficient. My question is, are the athletic directors talking? And I'm sure the answer is yes. And, are they coordinating, a sort of a district-wide look at athletic facilities, including the middle schools and the elementaries? Because I know a lot of us regretted the fact we couldn't put a running track at Newtown Middle School. And, are they working together to prioritize athletic facilities?
So I can say, last year, the year before, I did put in the capital improvement plan, the books that we have, the athletic field layout of each high school. I've identified all the fields, there's clear identifiers for all the fields. With that, then they key into the proposed projects for each one of those sites. I meet with Scott Leyer and profitability, to prepare what relevant projects there are in each of those schools. So we've been addressing those through the summer projects. In fact, we've done things to south this year to make it equivalent to north. Title IX issues with the ball fields so that the girls and boys are experiencing very similar conditions at both locations. So we're focused on those things. Middle elementary schools, maybe not as much as far as we just did the 2 middle schools, and we had feedback on those from programming, but elementary schools, I would say not as much coordination on those. But we are addressing playgrounds and things as part of the summer's project, and we look at the conditions of those as we go, make sure backstops are safe and things like that.
Are you asking maybe to try and start including it gradually over time?
Well, I think we kind of are at the secondary level, but, primary, we're just kind of
Primary
addressing
doesn't,
what's
yeah,
there.
it's not applicable, but I think, the middle schools ought to be part of the equation. And, and just the long-term thoughts about where athletic facilities go, because, in the past, in some ways, there was a little bit of facility sharing, I think, between Newtown Middle School and North. The option of, tennis courts, that kind of thing. So it's just a thought.
Well, and I agree, and actually, the feedback was, at the time, when the decision was made to not move forward with the track at Holland Middle, was the board members that were opposed, the hesitation was that they didn't have the broad view. So I agree with that. I would like to see that it's just part of the whole picture when we talk about the secondary.
I can engage them and make sure that we encompass those 2 schools with the bigger picture.
Yeah, right. And just set expectations for that. I think that will be long term.
I don't think anyone's asking
that.
I don't think anyone's asking you to do it.
Yeah, we just, I don't want to come back.
No.
Say, hey, where's it?
No, it's more just letting you know the radar.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things
We'll present a couple of different drafts to you in April.
I was going to say, some of the things we're going to show you in April will address some of the overcrowded issues at North and the athletic facilities there, and how we can try to balance some of that out. So that'll be part of the April. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So, as we said, in April, we'll come back and we'll talk about these things. The initial draft facilities master plan did reflect result Feinstone. Construction started of 2020. In an effort to try to maintain that in the event that we like what we see at the April meeting, the architects on the 4th, with financing at the 11th, the potential ability to award an agreement at the 25th April meeting to get the team started to meet the 2020 construction start. The only way we could possibly meet 2020 is doing that. There's no obligation. The architects aren't obviously charging us for us to get proposals from them. So the process is just an effort to keep us on task if that's the plan. That plan is not accomplished, we can't accomplish it, it's not achievable. That same architect would still be needed in 2021, so we're not spinning our wheels by going through the process.
So does the distance preclude us from considering Richboro Middle for all Feinstone's renovations versus trailers?
I think it does.
I also think the size.
Yeah, there's 2 things. Size, we have like 30 classrooms, and we only have 18. You'd have to put the 10 trailers, put 10 trailers at Richboro Middle.
I'm not sold on this, but I'll throw it out there. Have to see the property. If we empty half the school, that's neat, we empty half the school.
I mean, that would, from a phasing standpoint,
I don't know what.
I don't
community
know
thinks,
from a
right?
busing standpoint
Yeah.
what the cost of busing would be versus the cost of modular.
Yeah.
Because
Because, again.
we've actually talked about that, behind the scenes, or Dewey and I, we said, hey, I said, I don't think that's the approach we want to take, but
It has happened before. when construction happened in Goodnow many years ago. I think it was grades 1 to 4 were in the old Richboro, the schoolhouse on Richboro. That's where those grades were. And then, I'm mistaken, it was 4, 5, and 6 were housed there, and the rest were at Goodnow. And then at Thanksgiving, we moved back into
I was thinking that for the older kids, moved them out. And the younger kids might be here for half a year, here the other. I don't know education, but
It was still a 2-year project, you still have it phasing over 2 years, so you pay the
It's
extra
not the
money.
same as having a card.
It's totally empty, it's a whole nother story.
Well, we're pretty done though, we're used to.
I know, the other, well, here's the other thing we're doing, we've asked the architect in an addendum to the proposal. I don't know that this is even feasible, but we wanted to ask the question, because it will be asked. What is a new building on the same site? Because you may say, well, if we're gonna spend that to renovate the building, how much more would it cost to just build a new building? We know we have the large field where the ball fields are immediately next door, which is our property. So we said, give us a scheme in your proposals when you come in April. Number one, to renovate the building and put the additions on and the 5 classroom alternate. And give us a scheme to build a new building while kids remain in school with the 5 classrooms, on the site. And we'll determine what the cost of that project is after we see what their schematic, drawing looks like. And then when we come to you on April 11th, I can say, here's the cost of new, here's the cost of renovation. Bill Stone's actually modeling a new cost proposal from PFM as well, so we're going to model both. And then we can make that decision at that time. That's the, I think, only realistic way to do something without disturbing the kids and reducing the time, maybe a year versus 2 years by building and not. Something to consider, but I don't know that it'll be,
You're exploring options, right?
we have to explore the options, and again, it's free to explore.
Right, yeah, we're not committing to anything.
No, it's a good idea, because 2 years in an elementary school, kids,
Yeah.
and there's parents that are going to be moving around and hypothetically moving here, I think it's a smart business.
Because that's how all the schools work.
There's pieces of the school that are, 1950s that are challenging, where the library was donating,
The good note
piece of the building.
Yeah.
No, but
So this is just a new trend that we get here.
Elevational ones, elevation,
Yeah, there's
make it difficult, there's a lot of ramps and ups and downs, the lower level has no ADA access, we're gonna have an elevator to it no matter what, there's some challenges there. The architectural firms that are coming in on the 4th of Breslin, who did the middle school, Schrader, who's been working with us on several schools, and KCBA Architects out of Hatfield, who were a very good architectural firm. We haven't seen them here before, but if you name the district, they probably have designed buildings in that district. They're one of the premier school architects as well. So, 3 great companies, firms to come give us presentation.
And this new story, right?
We start at 6:30, and Matt and I are going to work out the best way to do it, whether we travel back and forth between rooms or have them all in here one after the other. It'll be 20, 25 minutes of presentation, 5 minutes of, question and answers, and moving on, so we're not spending hours and hours. And that is the agenda, which we just talked about. We actually had a pre-submission conference at the school with the 3 firms. Beginning of the week, we walked the building with them, we talked about it, we answered questions, they got a good feel for what they're working on. And then the proposals are actually due to us on the 27th, the interviews are the 4th of April. And if there's, a want to try to move this forward on the 25th of April, we would need to move something together. Miscellaneous updates, we have 1 supply bid under the consent agenda, and it's basically athletic field to make this paint. It's paint, interior, exterior paints for our guys, and we spray our lines on the fields with a machine and a large pail of paint instead of little cans that are time consuming. This is far more effective. So that will be the one board agenda item. The last slide, April 4th, 6:30 start. This would be architect interviews for Soul Feinstone. There could be some other little dates that I review at the onset of the project. The 11th April meeting, I'll come to FinCom and work with Bill Stone and talk about the 10-year master planning, the potential of having these on the board agenda if we were to move forward with these projects. And then the 25th April board meeting, when we would approve those agreements. If it's a go. That is it.
All right, before we go into public comment, I have 5 board members. Anybody want to talk? Any comments? All right, go ahead.
So, Hillcrest.
Stand up and give us your name again. Sorry, buddy.
And I have something to say about Safe to Say at Hillcrest Elementary School. I feel like in 6th grade, since I feel it's a joke to most 6th graders because some 6th graders it's just like abused, like people 6th graders at my school are just abusing the power of Safe to Say and exploiting it. So yeah, and that's all I want to say.
Okay. And you don't have to say any more publicly. When we're done, talk to this guy for 2 minutes. Okay? Seriously, he'd like to hear from you. Privately, that's fine.
Thanks, Rob.
Any other public comment? No, sir.
Excuse me, could you just, so we can get it on speaker?
Well, if you want to come over here. Thank you.
I was just curious, who's invited to the pre-construction meeting? I know there were contractors and all sorts of stakeholders that you listed, but how do contractors know to come to that meeting?
Oh, you mean well, the pre-construction meeting is a meeting of the contractors that have been awarded the project. A pre-bid meeting for construction, they're based on the advertisement. So when we put a project out to bid, there's in the advertisement for bid, there's a notice for pre-construction meeting on a certain date. Sometimes they're mandatory, sometimes they're not. If they're mandatory, it states you must attend a pre-bid meeting in order to bid the job. So they're usually in the advertisement. Right? Sure. And if you know of a company that's interested in bidding with the district, we can put you on a vendor's list, and when projects of that type come up, we'll call you and say, hey, these jobs are out, we'd love you to bid the job. So that's something that you have call me, all the offices and such out.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Board or otherwise? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.